Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. It's time for the second tactical preview, Arsenal versus Spurs. I've already done one, Chelsea versus Man City, in that massive game amongst the two favourites for the Premier League title. This isn't that, sadly, and I think Arsenal fans and Spurs fans know that, but it's still a North London derby. Bragging rights are there to be had, and I think there's a hero that could reveal himself in this weekend's game. I'll dive into that in just a second. If you are new to the channel and by the end of this video you have enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell as well, because it means that you don't miss any lives or any videos, including the Fallout, which is a video I do every single Monday, which dissects the weekend's action. So join me on Monday for that one. Let's get into this. First of all, it's kind of the analysis of recent results. If we have a look at the table at the moment, what you can see, of course, is that Spurs find themselves in 7th position, which doesn't seem too bad. Arsenal in 13th, 3 points between the two of them. For Spurs, 3 wins in the first 3. They were top of the table. Life was great. Last 2 games, 3-0 defeats in both. One against a Chelsea team that is very, very impressive, and they were pretty good in the first half as well, Spurs, in that game, if we're trying to be glass half full. And that's what I'm going to try and do in this video. I think there's often a lot of negativity about Arsenal and Spurs. So let's kind of look at the game and not dive into it being too horrific. But there were 3 wins there for them, which is something, right? But they want to bounce back and they want to be better. And it's going to be interesting to see how they go up against an Arsenal team that looks like they're going to play a very, very different style to the way that Spurs seem to be putting themselves together under Nuno Espirito Santo. Arsenal, it was the opposite. First 3 games, really, really struggling right down the bottom of the table. But games against Chelsea, games against Man City. Since then, 2 easier games, Burnley and Norwich, but they've won both of them, and they're starting to kind of pick themselves up off the canvas. The Burnley game wasn't outrageously exciting, and Burnley had a higher XG in that game, but it's 2 clean sheets, which I think is important. This is an Arsenal team that isn't completely flowing going forward yet, but there are shoots of hope here, and I'm intrigued by them. First things first, I think one of the positives for Arsenal now is I think we know what the back 4 is going to be. The back 4 is going to be Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel, and Tierney. I think that's what they're going to go with moving forward. And what was really interesting is the rise, I guess he's only just turned up, but he's hit the ground running, of Takahiro Tomiyasu, who won all 4 of his battles, and that involved 3 aerial battles against Burnley. This is something that I think is going to be really important, and I think it will warm him to the fans. I think you've seen that in the 2 performances so far. He's a guy who can kind of play right side or right-sided centre-back, and for an Arsenal side that will want to kind of play like this because they'll want Tierney to be able to get as far forward as possible, Tomiyasu is the perfect fit. And so far, look, I'm not saying he's a world beater, but what I am saying is that he's got that physicality that it feels like Arsenal need right now. Cedric doesn't have that, and I like him. I like him a lot, and I think he's got a big part to play in this game. In that Burnley game, it was a 4-1-4-1. Interesting stuff here, because Partey, and this is something that's moving away from the 4-2-3-1, using Xhaka, using Lokonga, having that kind of double pivot. And the idea, of course, is to get the likes of Odegaard and Smith Rowe into the side, and to use them both. And I think against lesser teams, I think this is something that will certainly work. And with a team full of confidence, it could be really, really special for them. Because let's have a look at it. Because what I liked was, first of all, the average positions. Because I think it shows the intent. It shows the intent of what Arsenal are trying to do at the moment, right? You can see where they're trying to go with the shape. Let's have a look. Let me get a bit closer. There we go. What you can see here is a few things, in my opinion, right? First of all, we know Pepe likes to kind of cut inside. But what I like with Smith Rowe in an attacking sense is that what you can see here is the fact that this is, remember, is an average position. So what you're probably seeing is Pepe, driving inside, and Smith Rowe trying to kind of be that runner. And that's something that he's really, really good at, and I'm pleased that they're kind of utilising that. It's a great option for them to have, right? That allows you to kind of get the best out of Pepe, and it also allows you to kind of not crowd up the middle of the pitch. This is quite a wide, expansive team because you've got the likes of Tierney who's trying to get forward. Saka trying to help out as an inside forward a little bit more, but if he wants to get wide, he can do that. Smith Rowe can be those runners. Pepe's coming in here. And there's a lot of nice movement. And then you've got your solid back three pretty much. That's like a face, isn't it? A solid back three of Tomiyasu, Ben White and Gabriel. What I also am intrigued about, and this is something that will be a key part of the battle in the game against Spurs, is the role of Odegaard and Partey. You had these two here as your two central midfielders. Some would say that's somewhat isolated, especially when you've got such an attacking player as Odegaard. But what people forget about Odegaard is how hard he works, and actually just how hard this team is capable of working. Aubameyang, I don't think you're going to get too much from him, but he's smart with his kind of movements, I guess, in terms of his pressures. But Smith Rowe, Saka, Tierney, Odegaard, and Pepe to a point. Maybe you've got two luxury players in Aubameyang and Pepe, but aside from that, very diligent team that are going to work hard. And when we look at Odegaard and what he was doing, what was interesting with him is that he was coming and picking up the ball and helping Thomas Partey in that way and allowing Smith Rowe to be a bit more of a sort of shuttler, maybe that's the wrong word, but allowing him to be a bit higher up the pitch. And you can see it here. Odegaard, getting on the ball further up the pitch, but also dropping deeper and picking up the ball as well. And he's going to be huge in this game. Let's have a look at Spurs, because the difference with Spurs is that if you think of how wide and how down the sides, I guess, they want to be. They might pop into the middle for a second, but after that, they want to get the ball out wide to Saka, to Pepe, to Tierney, right? Even Aubameyang, it's about stretching and going wide, not playing in central areas for too long because you've got the ball to Odegaard. Looking at Spurs, very, very different. We spoke about this at length earlier in the week in the fallout, and it continued in midweek. First of all, let's show you the Chelsea game. I've spoken about it a couple of times now, but I think it's always worth saying how sort of isolated the fullbacks are here, and how that they're trying to congest and be very, very narrow in how they're playing. You've got Kane there, of course. You've got Giovanni Lo Celso as well. And for the first time in terms of the lineups of teams, you're seeing Heung-min Son there, up front on his own, supposedly, because Harry Kane is not playing as that out-and-out striker. Now, we know he's dropped deep in the past, and I speak about this in that video, so go and check that out if you're bothered about that. But what was interesting is in the Wolves game, it was slightly different personnel. Heung-min Son didn't play in this one. Harry Kane played as the central striker. Giovanni Lo Celso played again, and Bryan Hill came and played in this one. But again, it's the same problem or asset, I guess. I guess it's dependent on how good you think the fullbacks can be for them and how much they can offer. The big thing for them is that, as we say, they are trying to play through the middle. And this is what's really interesting for this game, for this North London derby, because what you've got here is a team that really, generally, is utilising the centre of the pitch and trying to create high-quality chances from this area rather than, working down the wings. It seems like that's where they're looking to go, because Reguilon, when he plays, yes, he's an attacking threat, but there's also... Oh, that looks like a penis, doesn't it? It's amazing, isn't it? Reguilon is a player who you saw with the opportunity that he had in that there was a moment where he was able to dart through against Chelsea. He got there and he panicked. He's not a goal-scoring fullback, although he is a fullback that wants to gallivant a little bit. Emerson Royale is a bit more of a defensive fullback for them. So again, you're not going to get too much out of these guys. So really, it's about kind of playing through the middle and creating chances that way. That's what they're looking to do, which is going to be interesting, because when you look at these two teams and the battle amongst them both, Bryan Hill did go out wide a little bit more in terms of how he's picking up the ball, but not a crazy amount. It was only as they moved up the pitch. But the fact is, when we look at the stats here, in that game, 9 shots, 6 on target. They are third worst for shots, 45 shots so far this season at Tottenham. So it's quality of chance, not quantity of chance for them. So going into the game itself, what's really interesting is how that battle plays out, and if they are able to, both with the ball and without the ball, right? because I think this is, if you think Lo Celso plays, maybe they go for someone different, but I would expect it to be a very similar team to this. And so what you're going to see is, if Arsenal can get the ball out of this central area, I think the best thing for Spurs is if the game's played here. What they want is to get Tierney up against Emerson Royal, who has struggled against Zaha a couple of weeks ago. And Tierney, we know how far how quick he's going to get forward, and he's going to look to get forward. You've got Saka there to help out as well. But Spurs will want the game to be played in this central area. And if they're able to do that, to overload them, to keep them penned in, it'll be interesting to see how they press. If they will look to do what they did in the Chelsea game and look to press them high to not allow them to get out, or if it's just once they get the ball, they'll look to do it in transition that way. Because Thomas Partey, I think what they're hoping, and this is a question for the comments actually, what do you think about Thomas Partey? Has he got the capability to be an Ndidi? And by that I mean, essentially, he's your defensive guy. Because if he is, then it makes it a lot more exciting. Same question kind of goes, if you think about that similar style, with Odegaard. Can he be that Tielemans kind of player for them? Again, maybe a touch more attacking as a player. But, what Arsenal need to do is get to Leicester City's level. I really believe that. It's baby steps. You're not going to get into the top 4, but there is a team here and a squad of players here that can excite you if they start playing well together. And that's where it comes down to the manager. Because we know Brendan Rodgers is a good manager. He's got good, exciting young players, and he's getting them to play well together. I mean, a few. He's developed them, right? Arteta needs to do that now, and he needs to show it, and he needs to show it pretty quickly. So it's down to the sort of central area of the pitch. The final thing I do want to talk about is Tomiyasu. Because Tomiyasu, I like him a lot. And see his stats after 2 games. 12.5 pressures in the defensive third per 90. 5 tackles and interceptions per 90. 30 touches in the defensive third. That's 4th highest of any outfield player. So, staying back, basically. And 10 aerial battles. And his... I can't even believe this. His success rate is 83%. And that's having played Norwich and Burnley. So... he has the second most total aerials won, despite only playing 1.7 90s. Ben White has the highest. He's won 12, and Tomiyasu's won 10. So these stats might not be something that you're going to kind of notice. But the reason I say this is because I think he could be a hero at the weekend, and I think he could be an underrated player for them. And what's going to be really interesting is the battle between him and Harry Kane. Because what we have seen with Harry Kane, yes, there's a lot of dropping deeper, but even in this game against Wolves, let's show you the Wolves heat map. Drifting to that left-hand side a hell of a lot, actually. We talk about him dropping deep, and we understand that, right? It was nicer to see him getting in the penalty area, and that was probably because Son wasn't playing. But he did come over to this right-hand side, right? So remember that for a second. Then we go to the Chelsea game recently as well. So it's not just to show it's not a sort of one-time thing, right? Let's have a look at that game, and let's have a look at where he goes. Again, he's on that left-hand side. Really, really interesting. So what I'm seeing here is that there's going to be a key battle on this side. You know what this means? It means it's Tomiyasu time. Okay, Tomiyasu up against Harry Kane. Check this out. This is his heat map from the Burnley game. The 2 players will collide. Harry Kane against Tomiyasu right here. Look, I mean, I just desperately like using this pen, I'll be honest. But the main thing is, look, circle that bad boy. Hello. He is going to be all up in his grill, and it's going to be glorious. And that's what we always want to see when it comes to North London derbies and derbies in general. Transition from Spurs. Can they play with a bit more tempo? Can they hold on to the ball maybe a little bit better in midfield? They want to make it a physical battle. Ali getting on the ball, surrounding Partey, and then Ndombele taking players out of the game. It could be a really exciting one. I've got a feeling it's actually going to be the opposite, sadly. I think it could be one where they kind of cancel out each other a little bit, and they'll both be kind of concerned with not having the ball and stopping the opposition who play in a very different way to them, as opposed to being fluid in how they are playing, because they haven't been fluid in how they've been playing. It really, really is as simple as that. So for me, I see this 0-0 at half-time, and I see it quite possibly being a draw at the end of it. But what it could be is it could be a moment. It could be a moment for this Arsenal side. If I am to pick a winner, I do feel like I'm starting to see a team there with an element of positivity about it in terms of the personnel that you're picking. Young players who are hungry, eager to prove something, and also going to be given the opportunity to prove something. You know, the likes of Saka, the likes of Odegaard, the likes of Smith Rowe, the likes of Pepe is getting better and better. You know, Tomiyasu wants to make his mark. Ben White, young player, wants to make his mark. Partey should be one of the leaders of this team. Gabriel, same thing. You know, it's such a big game for them. Tierney, we know he's world class, to be honest. So there can be positive thoughts on this for Arsenal fans if you want, but it comes down to the coaching, and it comes down to it clicking at some point. And this could be a game that you look back at the end of the season and go, it's starting to click. That said, I don't think we're there yet, and I think it will be a draw. What do you think, guys? Let me know your predictions, your thoughts on the personnel of who might play, who might start, who won't start, and key battles, of course, as well. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you check out the Chelsea versus Man City preview, and enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on the other side.